Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Last Call Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Clement, alongside my co host, Bobby Briscoe, tonight. Back with another episode of the pod and preseason chugging along. We got updates galore to get into, we've got all that news and preseason to review, and we're going to do a fun little episode today. We're going to be looking at our toughest decisions that I think drafters are going to have to make this draft season. Um, Bobby, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. For some reason, very tired today. I don't really know why, because still on summer vacation, but it might be the looming specter of school coming back
Couple weeks
that's
away.
getting me. Football season coming back, always very exciting. School coming back, less exciting. So we'll focus on the positive here tonight.
Absolutely. We've got so much to talk about. Preseason, of course, we have to overreact in some instances.
Mhm.
Injury news changing the landscape. What all the draft boards that we thought we had are now irrelevant. So we are going to be diving into some of those conversations tonight. Before
Mhm.
we do all that, let's get it cracking here on a Monday evening. Cheers, Bobby. Okay, so like I said, everybody, we're going to be going through some of the headlines and, of course, getting into the meat of our episode. Our I want to come up with like a funner idea for this, Bobby, but like a pick'em essentially. And I know that you're pouring your beer. Let's do our beer check, of course. We can't forget about that.
I mean, I think I've already done my beer check. We're going with a classic here tonight. Beer fridge is getting a little bit low. I'm gonna fully concede it. You can maybe see it in the background there. We've got a lot of space back there. So went with an old reliable tonight. Just the Guinness. So hard to
Nothing.
beat.
It's hard to beat a Guinness if you just need like a. I find them like almost restorative. That first one, if that
It's
makes any sense.
refreshing. It's
Yeah,
it's it's frankly refreshing. Yeah.
yeah. I'm just having a grolsch tonight as we've been over.
Yeah.
I'm not been adventurous. I have not been adventurous with my beer selections recently. I'll probably dive into some new stuff eventually, but
There we go.
yeah. Okay, so here on August 17th, we have week one of preseason under our belt. And of course, with training camp and practice into full swing, come with it the injuries. And
Hmm.
just today, we got word that Brees Hall went down with a apparent groin injury in practice today. It was
Yeah.
non-contact. It sounded like
Oof.
he caught a pass and tried to make a move and just had to be helped off the field.
These are the injuries that just sorry to interject
No,
here.
please.
When it's non-contact, that's when it's a problem. That's as soon as it says non-contact injury, that's when I start paying attention because that's an issue, right? That means something went on him, and that can be a huge problem. So,
Yeah, and I'm hoping that's not the case. Aaron Glenn, for whatever his word is worth, does say that doesn't appear to be a big issue, but they're obviously going to need more information.
yeah.
This just happened today, so I haven't seen any further updates just yet. I'm sure he's going to get a scan or whatever they need to do to take a look at soft tissue stuff, but it does
Mhm.
sound like he will be missing the rest of preseason and week one. In my eyes, might be up in the air for
Yeah,
Brees
yeah,
Hall, which is
for sure.
obviously a hit to a guy who just got paid, who I think a lot of drafters were pretty high on going into this
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
this offseason. Um, what do we say about the Arizona Cardinals, Bobby? I mean, they just can't help but be a really poorly run franchise, it seems. They decide to give Jeremiah Love their third overall pick, a absolutely electric looking running back. They decided to give him 14 touches on 16 snaps in the first half. Even after they took the rest of the first team out, they kept him in.
Yeah.
And on that 14th
Why?
touch, and on that 14th touch, he exits with an apparent high ankle injury. I've heard different reports on whether it's been verified or not, but it does seem like high ankle is going around the circles. So um, it's shitty. Like the
Yeah.
poor guy, just he competes too hard, and here we are in one game of preseason.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not much more to say on that side of things for him. I mean, yeah, if you're the Cardinals, you maybe need to be giving your head a shake about what the heck are we doing here. Um, I mean, I didn't have exactly high hopes for them anyway. And Jeremiah, I've been outspoken already in the podcast that he's someone who I have not been looking at highly to draft. And I was not taking injury into consideration there, but now with an injury, even I think even more so. I'm kind of fairly gun shy on looking to pick him up. So,
Well,
yeah, very unfortunate for them.
well, two things on this really, right? Like one, a high ankle sprain, the timeline generally is about a month, and we're about a month out from week one of the regular season. But then it's a number of weeks after you return where you actually see your normal production kind of
Yeah.
return as well.
Yeah, he's not going to be up back up to full speed for probably the first few weeks of the season for sure, and then then you start to get banged up more and that sort of thing as well, right? You don't want to be going into the season injured. That's not a good thing,
Yeah,
right?
hurt does not help, as many people like to say.
Yeah.
The second part to that is, did you see the response of Mike LaFleur to the question of?
No, I didn't.
He said that Jeremiah Love was a player who hadn't seen game action in the NFL yet. That was his reply, and it's
Hmm.
confusing to me because if you're like, I just don't understand what they're trying to prove or trying to accomplish in like week one of preseason.
Yeah.
If you do want to get him up to speed, you don't just give him 14 touches in a half of preseason football where there's a lot of tryhards on the other side of the ball that are trying to get a
Yeah.
roster spot.
Oh,
And
for sure.
Jeremiah Love is an ultimate competitor. Like you could see the way he was finishing runs. It was something like this was bound to happen. And like I'm surprised this didn't come out even sooner. Like this came out yesterday or the day before, and not right after that Thursday night game.
I wonder, like, peeling back the curtains a little bit, what does this say about how they feel about their team? Like, do they think that they're ready to actually compete? Is that what that's saying? Is
I
it saying we need to get this guy up to speed because we're trying to win right now?
but
Like,
but
yeah, yeah,
you and I both know like a running back um, hitting the ground running in what is going to be a tough year for the Arizona Cardinals. That like what is that actually going to accomplish? Like
yeah.
he
I
is the
mean,
he's a future star for your team.
I think the best case scenario for the Cardinals is that they're bad this year and they get some more good draft capital and they can continue to add to the core that they're slowly
Maybe a
putting together.
quarterback. They could probably
Oh
use a
wow.
quarterback. So
Yeah.
oh man,
So yeah, it's
it's
interesting.
it's crazy because in keeper leagues and dynasty leagues, a player like this would be going high, and with this occurring, it's just
Mhm. I will say that I'm glad you brought that up actually because especially in a dynasty or a keeper where you'll be able to have him for a long time, he is still who he is, right?
yeah,
Like don't overreact to news like this if you're in that kind of a league. But yeah, definitely something to be slightly concerned about, I would say, right?
yeah,
So
absolutely. Next line item we have here is Christian McCaffrey missing. I think he's coming up on a week almost of practice with tightness, quote unquote,
yeah,
and that's my response as well, Bobby. Like
yeah.
I don't think it's anything serious. It's probably just maintenance and
What does 30-year-old Christian McCaffrey need to prove in freaking preseason, right?
no,
So yeah,
exactly.
especially coming off the number of touches that he had last year, like I don't want him seeing the field right now. He
No,
does not need to do that.
I I understand the concept of wanting to make sure that your players are like almost ready for what is an NFL game. However, it's a risk anytime they step out onto that field. And to your point, Chris McCaffrey does not need to be doing any of this in preseason. But at the same time, those that don't do any preseason action or like are kind of shelved for the preseason, they often get off to a slow start too.
Yeah,
So I'm
I,
sure.
I, and from a fantasy perspective, definitely something to be slightly worried about if you're thinking about drafting him. And I'll say this as someone who's drafted him. But from a team perspective, if you're the team and you have this kind of a player, right? It's not like he's new to the program. It's not like he's new to the systems that they run, right? He's gonna get up to speed on that without any issues. So the first few weeks of the regular season, that's the preseason, right?
Yeah.
And he'll get up to speed, and they care about making the playoffs and going for a run in the playoffs, right?
No,
And
that's very
this
well
kind of
put.
mentality, it's not helpful for us in fantasy, but it is the correct mentality if you're trying to win as a football team.
Yeah, that's very well put. And I think there's rumor about him maybe sitting out a little bit because of the tight purse strings of the San Francisco 49ers as well.
Mm-hmm.
He might be looking for a little re-up on his deal after seeing these youngsters and Jonathan Taylor get a little
Yeah.
sugar on top. So I think that could be a little bit of a part of it too. At the end of the day, we're not worried about Christian McCaffrey as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Something to monitor, but I'm sure he'll be ready to roll week one.
Yeah.
Uh, Emeka Egbuka has been. Just today I saw news that he saw or is seeing a second opinion or a number of experts on his toe. It doesn't sound like it's anything serious. It's confirmed that it's a sprained toe, not anything torn, not serious turf toe or anything to that effect. So I don't know why they keep putting it up into the news, which is very makes me very nervous as a Igbuka owner. But I do expect him to be. Like Todd Bowles, the head coach, also said that we'll have to see what his status is for week one. But he was saying that we'll see how Bucky Irving looks, in the summer and in the fall. Like Bucky Irving's been practicing at camp, so he's being very deceptive, I think, in the way he's
Mm-hmm.
presenting information. You never want to see a guy that's on the ascension being hurt at this point in the off season, but I'm not overly concerned with Igbuka. I'm not moving him up or down as of right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's correct.
Have you seen the latest news on Jordan Tyson, Bobby?
No, I haven't. So I'm out of date with this one. Fill me in.
Okay, so the saga began kind of towards the end of last week, where he had to leave practice due to a hamstring um,
Mm-hmm.
tightness. It sounds like there have been it's either a re-aggravation or maybe a leveling up of this injury that he's been dealing with when it comes to this hamstring. Like when he did his knee back in college, it was the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle: ACL,
Mm-hmm.
PCL, LCL, reconstruction. And obviously, when you do an injury like that to your knee, your muscles tend to overcompensate. I think this is what he's been battling the entire draft process, the entire training camp process, and now we're looking at where he is here. I just saw a report, Bobby, that he is scheduled to miss at least 2 months with this hamstring injury.
Oh boy.
So I don't know if I haven't seen any details on whether that is they're going to do surgery on it and he's going to have to sit out and rehab that injury, or if this is just, hey, we're going to put you on ice for 2 months and we can revisit the timeline after that because we need to get this hamstring right if we're ever going to bother um, getting you onto the field in general. So,
Yeah.
tough news for anyone that was hoping to sneak him into their lineup in the early part of the season.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, Chuba Hubbard dealing with a hamstring as well. I wanted to put this in just because I want to get your thoughts, Bobby, on the effect that Jonathan Brooks is going to experience now that
Oh,
this
that's
news.
exactly what I was going to talk about. It's
Okay,
funny. I was just looking up where they're at in the draft rankings here right now. And in terms of running backs, Fantasy Pros has them as 31 and 32
oh,
in their
okay.
running back rankings.
So they put them right beside each
But,
other now.
but with Brooks on top and ascending, and I think that is the correct reaction here is that if you are a Jonathan Brooks owner, this is very good news for you. Yeah, something to keep in mind there with this pair of running backs that seem to have been cannibalizing each other so much when they're together. But I mean, Hubbard looked good when he was given the work last year, right? So if you're a Brooks owner, you will hope that again, I hate to say hope for an injury, but hope that the load gets shifted over to Brooks and you're able to capitalize on that. If it's a redraft, I don't want any part of this. I
Okay.
want to stay away from the whole thing. But
Okay. Well, it's funny. I think the Yahoo ADP. Now that Josh and Hayden have moved over to Yahoo from Underdog, they use the Yahoo ADPs. Chuba Hubbard was going in the 6th round, Jonathan Brooks in the 9th, and we've already seen that gap close. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Brooks is going to go in the 6th and Chuba Hubbard in the 9th now.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is, are we setting expectations too high for Jonathan Brooks? Like, he's coming off a second ACL. The same ACL that he tore in college got torn up again 2 years ago. He missed all of
Yeah.
last season. It sounds like he's up to speed. It sounds like he's looking very good in training camp. It sounds like he had some. And well, I didn't get to see any of the Panthers preseason game, unfortunately, but he did see some action. Was effective, and he's healthy right now. Like, so,
Yeah.
I wonder what we can reasonably expect from a player like that, especially with, like, you look at the factors in what you hope for in an effective running back. Quarterback situation, question mark with Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Good offensive line. Apparently, their 2 guards are currently missing time, along with Izzy Aquano, their left tackle, who tore his patella in the playoff game. Um, it's it's a different situation than I think that we should actually expect when it comes to Jonathan Brooks, and I don't think it's going to be as simple as
Yeah.
Chuba's out, Brooks in equals Rico Dowdle numbers from last year.
Right. I think one of the things with, and the reason that people are optimistic is because of the production that they saw in this offense for a running back last year, kind of looking like it was based on the offense and the volume and the usage and all of those sorts of things, and not necessarily, not to disparage Chuba Hubbard here, but not based on the talent of the running back, right? Because Chuba Hubbard is a fine running back, but he's kind of just Guy, right? He's not anyone who I think anyone would argue is the most explosive talent in the league, right? So I think the thinking is, well, if you have someone who is at least bare minimum Guy in there in the same offense, and they're getting that volume because there's no one else there to pilfer it from them, then the production should follow, right?
Yeah.
And that could very well hold to be true. Like that, there is a chance that, if you do buy into this backfield, and you happen to buy the right person who gets usage, that you could see very good production out of that player, right?
Yeah. And I think, to your point, Chuba Hubbard, it does sound like Canales is expecting him to be ready for week 1, but I think that just leans more into the fact that they see this as a 1A, 1B. So if they end up splitting these carries 50-50 in kind of a sketchy offense, I don't want to say sketchy because I think I had very high expectations for this
Yeah.
offense going into this season, and then they've just been riddled with injuries, unfortunately. I think it's going to be hard for me to push the click button on either of these guys
Yeah.
based on their ADP and based on the expected production I think that's going to come. I like Jonathan Brooks in the passing game. He has that capability where Chuba doesn't. So I think
Yeah,
I do
that's
like Brooks better.
super fair. Yeah, super fair.
And
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I think for all these reasons, that's why I said 2. I don't want any part of it.
Yeah. And then last little news item here, Rashee Rice, it sounds like he will not be expecting any further discipline. It sounds like he already served the suspension for what he was in trouble for in the first place. So they're not going to hit him again for getting dinged for breaking his probation.
Like,
But on top of that, he has not looked good in camp. I don't know if you've seen the videos leaking out of Chiefs camp, but he is not 100%. That knee
mhm.
that he had to rehab in jail is not working to 100% just yet.
Yeah.
So I think he's another guy that's going to be tough to click the button on based
Mhm.
on a plethora of variables.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. So
Yeah, did you have a chance to watch any preseason?
very sparingly, very sparingly. I've
Okay.
kind of turned it on here and there. It's a little bit early yet for me to be really diving in on the couch and
Okay.
turn on the football. I'm still, well, the Jays have been going on a bit of a run, Paul. So
Fair enough.
I've been getting locked in on that.
Fair
But
enough. Yeah, it's funny. I turn on the Thursday night game and Melissa's like, "So this is like what, an old game or like a replay?" I'm like, "Oh no, this is preseason." She's like, it can't be football season yet. It can't be football season yet. I'm like, well, here it
It,
is.
this is my like transition period where like I start to pay attention to the news a little bit more. I start to read more, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
We'll save the watching for a little bit
the
later.
real action.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
good stuff. We're gonna take a quick break, everybody. Just refresh our bevies, and then we are gonna get into again. I don't want to call it like fuck kill Mary. I don't want to call it keep trade cut. I want to come up like we got to come up with a better idea for this segment here, but we're going to brainstorm that in a little bit, and we're going to get back to you guys in just a sec. All right, back in a minute.
All right.
All right, everybody, we are back. Appreciate y'all waiting. We are going to be getting into a segment that we have just collectively decided to call "Choose Your Fighter." So the point of this exercise is we are going to zero in at specific points in the draft where there seem to be pivotal decisions that need to be made uh, when it comes to specific players at specific moments in the draft. And if you get one, you're not likely going to get the others. And I think this is as close to live drafting as we're going to get, Bobby. As if you and I are back to back in a draft, and you're on the clock. You get to pick one of these guys, and the other two are going to fall outside of your grasp. So we're gonna skip over the first round, everybody. The first round is kind of set in stone. Almost immediately into the back end of the second round, there are critical decisions that need to be made. And the kind of players that we're going to look at here for the end of the second round, this is our first example. George Pickens, Nico Collins, AJ Brown. And I specifically kind of kept it in this very similar player archetype when it came to this position as well. Here at the back end of the second, let's pretend that we took our Bijan or Jameer Gibbs and we are staring down the 211, 210, 212, one of those picks. We have our pick of the litter, George Pickens, Nico Collins, AJ Brown. Where is your brain going initially here, Bobby?
So this, I will give you full credit because this is a tough decision, but for me, it's not. I know
Okay.
exactly who I'm picking in this. Um, so we've got our running back. We've nailed that down. We want to get our top wide receiver here. Only one of these to me screams that is a guy who can win me this league and be that alpha guy, and that's AJ Brown. I'm
Okay.
going with AJ Brown. I'm super high on him. Maybe I've drunk too much of the Kool-Aid, so cool me down if that's the case. But I just love the fit with him and his new environment. I think that that's a great situation, and he is a guy who's been that guy as well, right? He has the pedigree. We know what he can do, and I think he's been set up in a place where he can do that again. Um, Weirdly, I think the floor is higher with him too. I think there's less bust potential with him, which is crazy for me to say about a guy who's just been traded into a new environment. But they traded for him for a reason. The fit is really good for a reason. And they just have more question marks with, Nico Collins. How's that offense going to look? Like we've seen hiccups there. With Pickens, he's not the top dog in that offense, right? How much is he really going to see of the ball? Maybe if CD gets hurt or something like that, he'll absolutely feast. But I think for me, I like the floor with AJ Brown and I like the ceiling with AJ Brown as well a little bit more. So I'm pulling the trigger on AJ Brown here.
And reports just coming out today is that AJ Brown has been unstoppable in practice, whether joint practice or otherwise. So that's music to my ears, my friend. But
Mm-hmm.
I think this is especially a difficult decision because each of these guys has shown their ceiling in the past, and they all have like a little question mark beside their name on each of them.
Mm-hmm.
George Pickens, to your point, not the maybe not the number one in Dallas, but certainly capable and motivated. I think he's on the
Mm-hmm.
franchise tag, so he is on a prove it deal this year.
Oh yeah.
And I think that a player like him tends to get motivated by things like of that nature. Nico
Mm-hmm.
Collins just got re-upped, and I think with a improved offensive line situation, and you have to hope that CJ Stroud gets back to some semblance of average quarterback play. Nico Collins' ceiling we've been over the stats before. We know what he is capable of. He is one of the more physically dominant wide receivers, and if they could just lean into maybe getting him a couple screen passes versus just always just sending him on goes and posts and these deep outs, then I
Mhm.
think he could certainly perform and outperform his current ADP as well. And then AJ Brown, just a little bit older. You know, the rumors circling around the knee during the trade when the trade happened, he seems to be right as rain, fitting right in New England and performing in practice thus far. I think each of these guys have their questions. We all know what they're capable of in terms of talents. Each of these guys could be top 5 receivers next year. I wouldn't be surprised. My answer, I talking all that through, I have no clue who I'm going to take. Um, I think I would, if I had the choice, I think I would aim at Nico Collins here. And I know you
Mm,
and I have differed on Nico Collins, Bobby, but I think just a little bit more youthful than AJ Brown, a bit more experienced and solidified in his offense compared to George Pickens. I think Nico Collins is going to be a centerpiece of this offense, and he's just a like salt of the earth sort of player. No drama when it comes to him as a wide receiver. I think
that's true.
he puts on his construction hat and goes to work in a season where I think there's high expectations. Oh my god, I just remembered something that I'm going to hate myself for. Their defense is so good, they probably don't have to pass that much. Can I change my answer?
Yes, you can. Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to go AJ Brown as well. For, and
Well,
and honestly, that's the only thing I'm considering here for not taking Nico Collins is like I don't think the passing volume is going to be necessarily important to the offense. Like they can
yeah.
run the ball with David Montgomery. They have the defense. I'm sure they want to take some pressure off of CJ Stroud and just kind of let the offense come to him rather than forcing him to make these big time throws on third down all the time. So I
You're
think the
you're
offense is
you're
a better
spoiling
situation.
my answer in a future round, by the way, but we'll get to
Okay.
that.
Well, I think all that considered, and I was so sold on myself on Nico Collins, but I think the environment is going to lend itself better to AJ Brown this season, hopefully for this season and maybe a season extra. Okay, so that's the
All right.
end of the second round. We're going to look at another group of receivers here. These guys are going anywhere from middle to end of the third round, maybe leaking into the fourth a little bit, but I consider these guys kind of the same tier. And like we've said before, if you're picking one of them, odds are you're not getting another crack at the table here when it comes to the other two players. So for our second scenario here, Bobby,
All right. Let's
round
do it.
three into round four, we've got Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, and Zay Flowers.
Okay.
So
Interesting. Interesting.
I mean, if you want me to set the table, I can set the table, or I can just kick it to you and you let me know your thoughts.
Okay. So I'll take the ball here.
Okay.
I I like Waddle. I've owned Waddle in redraft leagues in the past. He's a fine player. I do have some question marks with him. You know, going into a new offense that could work very well for him, of course. But there's just enough hesitation there. And you know, there's not as much excitement as I have for at least one of these other players. So I'm going to leave Waddle. I'm also going to leave Zay Flowers as well. My knock against Zay Flowers, and we've kind of touched on it a little before, is the boom bust, the frustration. You know, certainly by the numbers, he's a very good wide receiver when you look at his total production. But having owned him, he was a nightmare for, you know, starting him, not starting him, that sort of thing. I mean, if you're taking him this high, he's going to be in your lineup, and you're just going to have to suffer through the booms and the busts. But I think that the fact of the matter is I'm really high on Devontae Smith.
Okay.
I think AJ Brown leaving in Philadelphia and opening up that window for him. I really like the player in and of himself. I think he is the kind of wide receiver that I really like. And yes, you know, he is that kind of boomer busty type of wide receiver a little bit as well. But I think the opportunity for booms are a little bit more there. And again, maybe I'm sold on the Kool-Aid of Philadelphia as well, but I like the direction that they've kind of moved in and some of the changes that they've made. And I think they're going to feature Devontae Smith very heavily. I think that there's going to be a big role for him. I think he's going to be utilized. And so I would pull the trigger on Devontae Smith here.
Okay. Uh, Hard to argue. I think all these guys are going to be great picks in this range. I think
Mhm.
so. Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle are both kind of hampered by a small injury right now, but it sounds like Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle are already back at practice, so that's good news. Um, Jalen Waddle, I think, is a curious case, and the fact that he's been so underwhelming the past 2 seasons, and the fact that he's in a new situation where Sean Payton has notoriously spread the ball around and changed his game plan based on matchups on a week to week basis is going to be hard to figure out Jalen Waddle.
Mhm.
But I mean, that said, like he's kind of the missing piece to what Sean Payton needs and wants from his number one option in his passing game. So I'm incredibly intrigued by Jalen Waddle this year. And he's coming at a discount where he was usually going in the second or third round. Now he's falling to the back end of the third, maybe even falling into the fourth. And I think he's very intriguing. I don't disagree with anything that you've said about Devonta Smith. That's why I'm also very high on him. Zay Flowers just got paid, seems to be a mainstay of that Baltimore offense. However, I will say with the emergence of Jacoby Lane, I think that
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be extra end zone targets going Zay Flowers' way now that he's been paid.
Yeah,
It's
I think if Zay Flowers is getting into the end zone, it's from a distance.
yes,
I don't see him, well, and even the fact that, and he's having apparently terrible camp, but guys like Mark Andrews are still there too, right?
yep,
So, yeah, I can see him being very dependent on a long rush touchdown if he's going to be getting in the end zone. And that leads to that kind of boom or bust, right? Does he break off for a 30 or 40-yard touchdown that week, or does he not?
yeah. And I think for that reason, also going to take Devonta Smith. I think if it's between these three, I think the ceiling is higher for Devonta Smith in an offense like you said, without AJ Brown. Devonta Smith can act. He can play outside. He can play in the slot, and he will exceed in both those roles. He can run every route in the route tree, and I don't care if they're switching the offense. It sounds like if they get back to running the football effectively, that just sets up Devonta Smith for these great play action shots down the field, which he's excelled at in the past as well. Like
Yeah.
quick game, short game, middle of the field, deep ball. I think he can check all those boxes. I think he's the most talented of these three. I mean, he's the last wide receiver to win the Heisman in who knows how long. So the way he runs his routes, very smooth. He's small, but he can go up and sky the ball over guys as well, like deceptively athletic. I like Devonta Smith when it comes to these three. Even though I'm tempted by the Jalen Waddle reemergence, I will take Devonta Smith here and just hope that Jalen Hurts throws enough passes for it to all work out.
Yeah. All right. Love it.
Okay, so now we're into the heart of the fourth round. This is anywhere from the early to middle of the fourth round, and we're looking at a running back room now. So it's it's interesting this year, Bobby, because the running backs for a long time, these quote unquote dead zone running backs, these used to be fifth and sixth, seventh round picks where
Yeah.
that's when you're making these picks. As wide receivers were going so high, and these high end quarterbacks were going so high. And as we've discussed, quarterback, especially this year, seems to be something you can wait on. And if you don't get one of the 3 or 4 top tight ends, you can wait on tight ends. So it's really
Mhm.
running backs have been pushed up the board. But I think what you're seeing is this quote unquote dead zone is now creeping up into the fourth and fifth rounds. So I propose to you here, Bobby, who would you take between David Montgomery, Quinshaw Junkins, and Travion Henderson in the middle of the fourth?
Okay. Yeah. So you need to flip the coin here. Okay, I'm gonna walk my way through this logic here because I
Sure.
do have a pick. Um, I like Travion Henderson. I like of these three, I like the team that Travion Henderson is on more than the other two. And there is something to be said for take a player who's on a good team. That's usually going to lead to positive results. But the problem for me with Travion Henderson is that there's another running back by the name of Ramondre Stevenson who's right there with him. And I just am so worried about this being such a timeshare that, you're from a week to week basis. Does the game plan go through Henderson? Does the game plan go through Stevenson? What are things going to look like? Maybe banking on one of them getting hurt, and in that case, if Stevenson gets hurt and it's all Henderson, then hey, great for you. But the other way around can happen as well. So we're going to put a pin in Henderson for a second. My big problem with Quinshon Judkins is that he plays for a team that's not very good. And I think they're just going to be behind the sticks a lot. I think that they're going to need to air out. They're going to be behind in games. And I just worry that, the volume in that case is just not going to be there for Quinshon Judkins. On the other hand, though, for Montgomery, I think that they will be in a position where they're going to want to rumble. They're going to want to pass that ball off, use that run game to kill clock because maybe their defense has put them in a good position. Take some pressure off of their quarterback and allow him to have some more opportunities and some more openings. So I can see there being a fair amount of volume there for Montgomery, and so I'm gonna click Montgomery and hope that is the correct coin flip answer on this one, because I think this is devastatingly close. You picked really, really close players here, I
think. In a mock draft I did before we did this episode, these guys went back to back to back. So it's
I can see that being the case in a lot of drafts.
Right. And I think each guy I guess my question, like before I give my answer, which of these three guys scores the most touchdowns this year? Gut check. Gut check.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I think Quinshon Judkins is out.
I was, yeah. That's devastatingly close. I don't know. Who do you think scores more touchdowns?
I think David Montgomery will score more rushing touchdowns. I think the opportunity for TreVeyon Henderson to score more total touchdowns exists.
I was going to say TreVeyon Henderson, so that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just saw a report before we started that it sounds like Vrabel or maybe it was the OC, Josh McDaniels, saying that it does sound like they want to get to a point where it's 50-50 between TreVeyon Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. But I think you can divvy up that workload in very specific ways. So, for example, if Ramondre Stevenson, are they going to split drives? Are they going to split responsibilities in terms of early down, third down, goal line, between the 20s? Like, there's a million ways that they can cut it and make it 50-50.
Yeah.
So I get really nervous. Like, TreVeyon Henderson going in this range is insane, and he's going rounds before Ramondre Stevenson right now, who was literally.
I think they should be like back to back with each other. I look at them as almost essentially the same running back.
And Ramondre Stevenson was killing it at the back end of the season last year. Mm-hmm. He was the guy that they relied on in the playoffs. Obviously, Vrabel has put his confidence into Ramondre Stevenson thus far, and he's still on contract for 2 more years, this year and at least next year, I believe. So, like, Ramondre Stevenson's not going anywhere. As much as people want TreVeyon Henderson to be a thing, like, fetch might not be a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it. So, I think I might click on David Montgomery. I hate that we're agreeing on all these things, Bobby, but I think
I know. Well, but what? We begrudgingly agreed. It's tense though. It's close logic here on a lot of these.
Yeah, I think if you go TreVeyon Henderson, you are teeing up the ball pretty damn high. Mm-hmm. But if it hits, he has the highest ceiling of this group.
Yep.
I think David
Montgomery is very much a safe pick, and I hate that. I absolutely hate making those kinds of picks especially in a redraft league, right?
But we've seen him when he has the workhorse load, he has performed as that running back. Mm-hmm. I think pretty admirably. I think Quinshon Judkins might be the safest of these three, like just in terms of absolute volume.
The thing I'll say for Quinshon Judkins, there is a world where the Browns are better this year, and that could pay dividends for him as well. There's a non-zero chance of that being the case as well, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see how it all pans out. I'm not necessarily going to put money on that, but that it could happen, right? So
You know what? Anything can happen in a football season. We know that.
Their
I think
rookies could pan out for them, and the quarterback situation could magically solve itself. That I'm really not hopeful on.
I
But
I know you didn't see any preseason games, but I'm telling you right now, the
mm.
what I saw
Oh, the
from the
Shedeur Sanders interception.
yeah, the Deshaun Watson strip sack,
Yeah. That's not
it's
looking great.
it is not going to be
So it
pretty in
might be
Cleveland.
that they need to just hand the ball off to
That's what I'm
Quinshon
saying. Like
Judkins.
I
Yeah,
think total volume of rushing attempts could go in favor of Quinshon Judkins. I just don't know what the value of that is
yeah, I might not
versus
see much.
passing upside of Travion Henderson, explosive upside of Travion Henderson, and then David Montgomery. I think is kind of this perfect blend of they've invested in the offensive line. The offensive line has taken steps in the last couple seasons for Houston. I think he's going to get every goal line touch because it's just him and Woody Marks there, I believe.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
David Montgomery is a capable pass catcher too. Like
Yep.
he can work the screen game. He can work kind of like flats and curls and angle routes. He's been able to do that in the past. He's a little bit older. I don't think he's going to be Joe Mixon from a couple seasons ago, but I think he can certainly return RB2 value pretty quickly.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, now we're getting into the round. Okay, so I labeled this round five, round six, and we're going to look at quarterbacks here, folks. So
Hmm.
I get it. Quarterbacks aren't going to go in the fifth and sixth round for you savvy drafters, but I wanted to put this group together because pretend they don't go in the fifth and sixth round like they did in ADP. Maybe they're going in the eighth or ninth round because everyone in your draft is so smart to wait on quarterback. But let's look at
Hmm.
Drake May, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Go
I think
ahead.
this is a good trio to pair together because I think Josh Allen is obviously going to be the top quarterback off the board. A lot of people have Lamar Jackson going off next. And I think these three present a good kind of case of a kind of next crop of quarterbacks that you want to be looking at. Um, we're not going to agree on this one, I don't think,
I'm
because
curious.
I think you're going to have a different answer than me. I love Jaden Daniels. I think he's a great player. I would be very, very happy to have him as my quarterback on a dynasty team, on a redraft team at Keeper League. The rushing potential is great to have. I think, logically, he could be the person who's the best to pick here very easily. My knock against him, one, there's been some recent personal things that have come out against him that have me a little bit hesitant. The whole thing with, do you know he owns the rights to the number 5? Crazy.
He thinks he
Absolutely
does.
crazy,
He thinks he does.
apparently. Um, so there's that. There's also just the receiver situation there. I know that they've done some things to try to address that, but I'm still a little bit hesitant about the other pieces that he has in that offense to rely on. Um, so we'll move over to Drake May. I have nothing negative to say against Drake May. I think he's a great pick. I think again, logically, he could be the top quarterback on this group. But I'm not going to pick him either because I love Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is the man. I am a huge fan of him as a dude. I hope that he is over the injury issues. I hope that he doesn't get re-injured. I'm a little bit nervous about that. We've seen some things in preseason already where things have looked not solid around him. But this is a me moonshotting for Joe Burrow is going to be healthy and he is going to have to ball the fuck out because that defense is horrid. And, they're going to need to win games, 40-35 or something along those lines. And he's going to need to throw like a bajillion touchdowns to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all of those guys around him. So this is definitely the risky option. It's probably not the correct option, but if he balls out, then it could be a league winning option too. So I'm going to take Joe Burrow.
Okay. I like that selection. You know how big a fan I am of Joe Burrow. I think a lot of things are in his favor this year. Continuity on the offensive line, the emergence of oh my gosh, what's Amarius Mims? So their right tackle that they drafted a season or two
Mm-hmm.
ago, coming into his own. Sounds like he's having a really good camp. They are starting to work Joe Burrow from under center quite a bit, and I think we saw that. I think it was the first play of his preseason game under center, play action, 20-yard dig shot to Jamar Chase. So if we're getting that mixed into already a very effective passing attack from Joe Burrow and his weapons, sky's the limit. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
he does not historically like turning his back to the defense because he is so smart. Like he is very cerebral in how he can very quickly, like a computer, determine what's going
He
on
wants to drop back in the pocket, and yeah,
just
he's that
dice.
old school style of quarterback. He's one of the few that we have in the league right now.
And he's very good at it. So
Mm-hmm.
I love all that for Joe Burrow, and I think it'd be hard to turn him down. I think Jaden Daniels, with his rushing ability, is going to keep him in this group, regardless of the fact that they've lost Laramie Tunsil, regardless of the fact that Terry McLaurin's over 30 and Stephon
Mm-hmm.
Diggs is over 32, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Chica Kwanko is like their third
Mm-hmm.
option. I think he can I think with his maneuverability, he is going to be able to perform regardless of the circumstances there in Washington. And rushing, of course, is a cheat code for these quarterbacks. I think with the the increase in difficulty for the schedule for Drake May, I think with the weapons they brought in and the extra help they brought in on the offensive line as well, in terms like offensive line and pass catchers, they were better last year compared to his rookie season. I think they've taken another tier or two up, obviously, on each of those fronts this offseason. So
Mm-hmm.
I think while the schedule is going to get harder, and I think there's going to be regression in terms of his deep uh, down the field accuracy, because that throwing for over 70% on completion percentage when you're completing all your passes downfield that are over 20 yards, that's just not sustainable. So it could be if it doesn't regress at all, then we're talking about a another very solid season from Drake May. Plus, he has some rushing capability. They talked about bringing some of that into his game last season, and we didn't really see it. He did scramble when he had to, but he was never really a part of the quarterback run game. So
Mm-hmm.
I think if they can tap into that a little bit, I think with the improved circumstances around him, I'm going to take Drake May here with the youth and the fact that he doesn't really have to battle the injury history just yet. Improved situation, winning squad, winning mentality there in New England. I think Drake May is going to be my pick when it comes to this. If I'm taking a quarterback here, this is the one I'm taking.
Yeah. I knew you were going to take Drake May. Let's be honest here.
I, I
and
love
you're
Joe
and you're
Burrow.
and you're probably right to do so. Like I think of these three objectively, he is the correct pick. I just can't say no to Joe Burrow. So
I don't want to say no to Joe either. Like
mm-hmm.
it's a no win situation here. I think
Yeah,
if you're saying bye to one to say like it's tough.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so a couple picks later. So we're at the back end of the fifth, sixth round there. Now we're into the heart of the sixth round. We have to pick a tight end, Bobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And this is kind of the latest I've seen these guys go. They've gone higher, they've gone a little bit lower, but this group is also going back to back to back
yeah.
more often than not. And we are looking at three tight ends here that I think a lot of people are very high on. They're kind of the
Mm-hmm.
last picks of the quote unquote good tight ends that you feel comfortable with sticking in there on a week to week basis. And I'm talking about Tucker Kraft, Harold Fannin, and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
So where are we going here, Bobby?
Okay. So I'm going to start my logic process by talking about Harold Fannin, who
Okay.
I like. I think is a good player. There's just a number of negatives to bring up with him. One is the team that he plays for, as we've kind of talked about a little bit here. Two, he's still a very young player, right? Was what we saw last year out of him what he is and what we're going to continue to see? Are we going to see improvement on that? Or was it a little bit of a flash in the pan? Was it a product of circumstance and the fact that there was nobody else there in that offense for the ball to be thrown to? They've drafted a couple of wide receivers. Boston apparently is looking quite good in camp. Is the role going to be the same for him this year? How much are they going to be able to get the ball to him with the quarterbacks that they have as well? Right.
Man.
So definitely some negatives to him. So I'm gonna leave him on the bench. Paul, your
This is a
favorite
layup.
player of all time.
It's a layup for you, man.
Kyle Pitts, right? That's, he should be great. He should be awesome. He's not been. It's been a number of years. Fetch has not happened. Will it happen this year?
Stop trying to make it
Everybody
happen,
thinks
right?
it. Everybody thinks it might. There's a lot of negatives in the situation though too, right? In terms of what is that offense going to be looking like? Who's throwing him the ball? There's enough question marks there as well. I think of all of them, Kyle Pitts is the biggest boom bust, right? This could either win you the league if it finally pans out, or you could be sitting there on a week to week basis going, why the hell did I draft Kyle Pitts? Can you talk about
Facts.
that
No,
experience,
that
Paul? Never sympathized with that. I'm taking
it's been many moons since I've had to deal with him. So
I'm taking Tucker Craft.
yeah,
This is a homer pick. I will fully admit. He's my boy on the Green Bay Packers. He's just that type of tight end that I love. He's gonna get up. He's gonna grab the ball. He's gonna come down with it and rumble for a bunch more yards because guy's a beast and you can't tackle him. Exactly the kind of player. There's also less mouths to feed in Green Bay as well this year. They've kind of seemingly have zeroed in on who they like and who they want to utilize, and he is one of those guys. The caveat to that is he is still dealing with an injury, and he might not be 100% to start the season. He might even miss a little bit of time at the start of the season based on some of the reports that we're hearing these days. So kind of temper your expectations there. But I think once you get into the later part of the season, when he's back and at full speed, he is the guy of these three that I want to have on my team the most. And so I'm going to pull the trigger on him. And if I need to, do the zero tight end, find one or two off of the waiver wire in the first few weeks to make up for that, if he misses a week or two, then so be it.
okay. No, that is difficult to argue with, and my heart does tend to agree with you. I think I don't know I was trying to find the rankings we had for our tight ends there, Bobby, but I do believe I had Kyle Pitts ranked above these two guys. So if I'm sticking to my rankings, then it would be Kyle Pitts, who's kind of going as the last pick of this tier, which is you can kind of convince yourself that's worth doing. He was the tight end two last year, but like when you look at points per game, I think he was scoring 9.4 points per game compared to Trey McBride, who put up it was like 16 or 17 points per game. And Kyle Pitts, of course, was boosted by that huge 45 PPR point game towards the end of the season. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, what can we truly expect from Tua or um, what's his name? God, I'm blanking. Penix, Michael
Yeah.
Penix. I think if we're going to take anything from the Atlanta preseason game, we did see, I think, 4 of Tua's 5 pass attempts did go to Kyle Pitts on these quick hitters.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's indicative. A lot of people are taking it as indicative as to kind of the MO of what this offense will be, which will be just like get the ball out of Tua's hands quickly, start using Kyle Pitts on some more of these layup sort of routes rather than trying to make him run these deep 15-yard, 20-yard routes downfield. If that's true, if he can start getting some of these easy button targets, there is a world where he is both the PPR monster and then also has the explosive nature of his game downfield. Last year he looked healthy. I think I'm just talking myself into Kyle Pitts from these three, which is
Which,
makes
yeah.
me want to take myself out to the shed. But um, I if it's not this year, then I don't know when, Bobby. Like, really, truly, and we've always seen this with tight ends. Like 25 is kind of when they start to hit the ground. Um, they're like they're still young enough to be incredibly athletic, but they're now mature enough to understand of everything that comes with a position. So I, I'm gonna take Kyle Pitts. I'll take Kyle Pitts out of these three, and I will just flip the coin every week to hope that we get a good week.
Yeah. My big thing for Tucker Craft again, it's been a minute since we've seen him. He went down in week 9, very early in week 9 with that injury
Yeah,
last year. But In 8 games, he was targeted 44 times, 32 receptions on those 44 targets for 489 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, if we can get back to that, then on a week-to-week basis, I am very happy with that kind of production.
Let me be clear. If I was starting an NFL team, he would be the kind of tight end I would want to pick onto my team as a real football player. The grit and the run after the catch is just so fun to watch when it comes to
It's
Tucker
so
Craft.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, this is one of those very interesting ones where if you're taking Kyle Pitts, it could win you the league. Could be the Pitts.
It's the yeah, my team name for many, many years. I think, yeah, to your point, he's the high T. I think Tucker Craft gives you that ceiling plus floor, and Harold Van In, to your point, like Todd Monken has featured tight ends in the past. I think he's going to like with the picks they made. I think Todd Monken, his fingerprints are all over this, saying, "I want more wide receiver options. I want to be able to work route combinations that tight ends can't generally work." And I think that's going to be to Harold Van In's detriment this year. If he doesn't get the volume that he saw last year, his average depth of target was what, like 3 or 4 yards? Like he's another one of these run and catch guys, at
Yeah.
least in last season's scheme. If he's asked to run the Mark Andrews route tree, I don't know if he's capable of doing that just yet. So we'll
No.
have to wait and see.
All
Okay.
right.
Yes, let's move
We're
on.
cruising.
So we're at this point in the draft, we're looking at the back end of the sixth, kind of beginning of the seventh, and we're going to start with two Jacksonville Jaguars here. Brian Thomas
Love them.
Jr. and Parker Washington are kind of going very close together, and I don't think that's going to be the case when it comes to real life drafts, but this is where they're going for ADP right now. And then I'm going to stick DK Metcalf in here as well because it's DK Metcalf. The name value and the physical nature of his skill set puts him in a range where he's again potentially that boomer bust wide receiver 4 flex option for you where you're not taking him to be your wide receiver 1 anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to start my breakdown by talking about DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm.
Like the player, do not like his situation currently in Pittsburgh. And it mainly has to do with who is under center. And also the fact that they brought in another wide receiver in Michael Pittman Jr. as well. So I think I have some question marks about how often is Aaron Rodgers going to be looking to DK Metcalf? And even when he does, how often is Aaron Rodgers going to be capable of getting the ball to DK Metcalf, right? I can see this offense being very much very quick outs, very quick movement of the ball, or I can see it just straight up imploding because Aaron Rodgers is finally, finally done, right? So I just have a lot of question marks there, and I'm going to shy away from him in this situation. So that leaves me looking at the two Jaguar players. Love taking a Jaguar wide receiver, just kind of blanket statement, because I think Trevor Lawrence is finally figured it out. One of those guys we talked about late round quarterbacks who you could potentially get and who have a lot of upside. I think he's a prime candidate for that. I think he's going probably a lot later than what he should. We saw in the last few weeks of the season last year how good he can be. And if that can carry over into this year, then he is an absolute steal of a quarterback in the late rounds. Now, who's the big target going to be? Who's going to be the beneficiary of that most? I'm buying into the Kool-Aid. I'm going to say Parker Washington is the guy. I think it looks like the connection's there. It looks like he's going to be the alpha in that offense. And so I am all in on the hype. I'm going to pull the trigger on Parker Washington here in this spot. Is that correct? It could turn out to not be. It could turn out that it's Brian Thomas Jr. Finally, that happens, but he has just not shown up enough over the last few years that fetch isn't happening. If we can come back to that joke, and I'm going to buy into the Parker Washington hype train.
I don't think Parker Washington's going in the 6th or 7th round when it comes to real drafts. I think
Yeah, I think he's going a lot higher.
He might end up going as high as the, dare I say, the 4th. because the hype is just through the roof on this
The
guy.
hype is real. Yeah.
Hype is real for this guy, and it's funny his
Mhm.
ADP hasn't been updated really on Sleeper just yet, but
Yeah.
I think he is the correct answer here, hands down.
Yeah.
The reason I included Brian Thomas Jr. is because I want to get your thoughts. Like, is he salvageable, Bobby? Is he worth taking in this sixth or seventh round to be one of your flex players, or is he the next Marquez Valdez Scantling?
Yeah, I think he is potentially salvageable. I think, maybe what we're seeing a little bit here is kind of, you know, too much of a hype train, and that, when we get to real football, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to have a role. He's going to be a part of the offense. He has been hampered by an amount of injuries as well, right? So, health can certainly be a factor. And if he has a good, healthy season, that could certainly be the breakout that we've been looking for from him. Um, but yeah, I just want to also touch on something that you said with Parker Washington's ADP not being updated yet. And, maybe when we get to real drafts, that is something to kind of keep an eye on, right? Don't buy into the ADP too much, because sometimes it vastly misrepresents where players are actually at. So you could find yourself in a situation where, maybe you're playing in a work league, people don't know ball all that well, and Parker Washington's ADP has not been updated yet, right? You could maybe try to sneak your way into getting
You
him
can game that.
yeah, like, earlier than the ADP, but maybe later than where he should be, right?
Yep.
Because people, again, don't know and are just basing things off of the ADP. So that is something to kind of keep in mind in terms of draft strategy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I back to Brian Thomas Jr. I don't think unsalvageable. I think I would certainly take the player as someone who's maybe going to be sitting on my bench ideally, and flex start and try to see if anything happens there. But yeah, the excitement is definitely not there.
It's so funny because he had that great rookie season where he was wide receiver 4 in PPR leagues, over 1,400 yards, double-digit touchdowns, I believe. And just
Mhm.
last year got hurt almost immediately and wasn't really being quote unquote tough over the middle. And it wasn't until they traded and signed for Jacoby Myers where you really saw Trevor Lawrence become unlocked. And then it was like Parker Washington emerged as like a young Jacoby Myers
Mhm.
as the season kind of continued on. And of course the hype is going crazy. He's got calves like shoe boxes. He
Yeah.
he's he's catching everything. He's just such a dynamic athlete. So I think Parker Washington is going to end up becoming the face of this wide receiver group. And I would be shocked if Brian Thomas Jr. finishes the season as a Jacksonville Jaguar. He could be trade fodder at some point. They
Mhm.
do want to have Travis Hunter start working some reps at wide receiver as well, and
Yeah.
he's currently listed as Brian Thomas Jr.'s secondary. So if you're leaning into more two receiver sets, if you're leaning into you, if you're going to have Brian Thomas Jr. and Parker Washington on the field, can you get by with Travis Hunter being that vertical threat potentially? I there's so many mystery boxes here on Jacksonville, and you and I have been in lockstep on Trevor Lawrence for a long time now, I think, and
Mhm.
it was great to see him finally have a bit of a breakout last season,
Oh,
and
for sure.
this is certainly a strategy that I would explore in my coming draft. Is if you can get one of these receivers and then get Trevor Lawrence as that last quarterback in later rounds, and get that stack,
Oof.
you be cooking pretty quickly and very cheaply as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I really want to believe in Brian Thomas Jr. It's just such a crowded room now. It's going to be tough to if they keep him in that verticality role specifically, it's going to be tough to trust on a week to week basis unless his game evolves, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're getting into round 8 here, and we're back on the running back train. And this is kind of a battle of the split backfield group. I've got Blake Corum, where again hype is going through the roof in Los Angeles. I've got Rico Dowdle, and I've got So I put these two guys here. You tell me who you want to talk about, Bobby, because I think they're going a similar range. J.K. Dobbins or Ramondre Stevenson? Who
Um,
should we put for our third option?
let's do let's do Dobbins because I feel like we've talked about
Sure.
Stevenson a little bit already.
Yeah,
So
we
let's
talked
let's,
about
let's
trade.
talk about a new player.
Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're
Um,
looking
and
at
I I'll kind of go out on a caveat and think I think of all of those, I would maybe just lean on Stevenson as like perhaps the safe pick of all of those.
mhm.
I feel, if you're faced with those four, I would maybe take Stevenson if I'm looking for a safe pick. But let's talk about the three.
Yep. So we've got Blake Corum, Rico Dowdle, J.K. Dobbins. Go.
Yeah. Uh, Ting. Maybe I should have put Stevenson in here. Maybe I just screwed myself. So Rico Dahl, the thing I would say about all of these players is they all have a lot of bust potential. And I guess that is what you have to deal with when you're getting to this point in the draft and you're looking at taking a running back. There's just, these are not lead slam dunk guys. If they were, they'd be going a lot higher. So that's where we're at with this. Um, Rico Dahl in Pittsburgh. I've kind of already talked about that offense and how I have a lot of questions about it. Um, I don't know how well they're going to be able to operate. I'm not confident in the team. I think this is something you're going to kind of see here in my analysis a little bit as I look at the team. Um, Kind of similar with J.K. Dobbins as well. I like that situation a little bit more. I think he'll get the ball. I think he'll rumble. But of all of these, when I'm faced with a tough decision in terms of running back like this, and in terms of looking at the player, I default to who is on the better team. Therefore, more opportunity. Therefore, probably more points. And I'm going to buy into the hype again and go with Blake Corum. I think
Okay.
the hype is there for a reason. And I really like the team. I think the team is a very good team who's going to have a great season and put up points. And I want players that are in offenses that are good. And I think of these three, that's the best offense. I'm going to take a player that's in the best offense.
Okay. No, I tend to believe the hype as well when it comes to Blake Corum. We saw him really start to come on towards the end of last season, and they were starting to split that backfield closer and closer to 50-50. I was really high on J.K. Dobbins earlier this offseason, confident enough that I took him in our dynasty
Mhm.
startup as like, hey, running back depth, he's the starter. They signed him back to another deal in Denver, and then they drafted Jonah Coleman.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, let's throw a little cold water on that. And after seeing what Jonah Coleman did in his first preseason game, I think he had 4 carries, and each one just like the
Yeah.
patience and this like not explosive burst, but effective burst to get through the gap and like the low center of gravity that all came through in
Yeah.
in beautiful colors. In a
Dobbins, like, not to disparage him as a player, and I have the other running back that we're talking about here, so I don't want to get too high on my own supply. But like Dobbins, Harvey, like that seems like an open backfield. That seems like it's a very much who's going to win the job kind of situation, right? And it seems like they have candidates who could win the job out of that backfield. And if I'm in a redraft, especially, I maybe want to steer clear of that.
I see it more like a everybody has their role kind of offense. Like Sean
Mm-hmm.
Payton is notorious for having his guys for this specific kind of role, and I think
Mm-hmm.
Jonah Coleman uh, is kind of like the center of that Venn diagram where he can be effective in short yardage and passing
Yeah.
downs, and he's also a good effective um, early down runner. J.K. Dobbins is really that early down runner. He was not used as a receiver all that much, and then you got R.J. Harvey as like the pass catching option. The not the Kamara. He's certainly
Mm-hmm.
not Kamara, but he could be like the Darren Sproles type, I guess, in
Mm-hmm.
a Sean Payton offense where he's more of like a gadget receiving type out of the backfield.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Did you want to add something before I get into my deliberations?
Go for it. Get
Okay.
into it.
Yeah, so for me, this is really between Blake Corum and Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle has history with McCarthy, the coach in Pittsburgh now. They brought him in on a decent deal. I think it's only a 1-year deal if I'm remembering correctly. Blake Corum, hand selected by Sean McVay, almost a splitting image of what's his name? What's the running back there? Oh my gosh.
Oh, their other running back.
Yes.
Yeah, Kyron Williams.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, so I think he's a splitting image of Kyron Williams. I think they still have more faith in Kyron Williams down by the goal line, so I'm just not sure how much goal line touches Blake Corum's going to see, but I think he can do everything that Kyron Williams can do. And should Kyron Williams get hurt, Blake Corum becomes like that plug and play top 15 running back, I think, on a weekly basis. Rico Dowdle, not quite the pass catcher that Jalen Warren is, but I think he's going to be seeing a lot of the goal line touches. So
Hmm.
this is really a coin flip between kind of PPR production slash contingency upside versus early down and goal line role, and I think is going to be a pretty decent rushing attack in Pittsburgh. I think they've tried to build that identity over time now, where you should see the investment they put on that offensive line.
Hmm.
Like they're a first round pick, Broderick Jones, is probably going to get cut from this team because they've put so much investment into this offensive line to make sure that it's stout.
Yeah,
So
well, it needs to be.
yes, keep Rodgers upright at all costs.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to go Rico Dowdle here between the three, simply for the goal line workload. I'm really interested in Blake Corum this year. I want to
Yeah.
see how this shakes out because they gave Kyron Williams the bag of money a couple years ago. He's done nothing but perform as a top 15 running back since he emerged several seasons ago. And Blake Corum is just kind of waiting in the wings. And I'm wondering if this is the season where it becomes a bit more 50-50 and what the value of those 50-50 touches look like, to your
Yeah.
point, on a very good offense that's going to be down at the goal line quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, maybe to kind of put a bow on this,
Yeah,
would you take Ramondre Stevenson over any or all of these guys?
I think so. I think Ramondre Steve, like he was going in, like, again, I don't, the sleeper ADP was a little outdated in my opinion when I did this mock draft to help me come up with this sheet. I don't think Ramondre Stevenson's going down here in the eighth. I think he is closer to Travion Henderson. Like he's gonna. I think Ramondre Stevenson. If we were to do my keeper league draft tomorrow, he's gonna end up going in like the equivalent of like our fifth or sixth round.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the gap between them is certainly closer than what Sleeper
Yeah, should
has
be a
their
lot
ADP.
smaller than what it's currently shown as.
Yeah. Um. So yes, to answer your question, Ramondre Stevenson over all these guys, he catches passes like you. He's a big,
Yeah.
strong running back who's good at pass protection, and he can catch. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I do like him up in that range as well. Good stuff. Anything to finish up here, Bobby? What do
I
we
think
What
that
do
was
we
good.
learn?
I think we learned a few things. We learned some draft strategy stuff about looking at ADP because it's interesting how the sleeper ADPs for some of these players that we talked about do not match up with where we're thinking they should probably be going. We learned some things about the type of role that players have on teams and how that can impact their fantasy production. And we learned some things about how sometimes this is just an absolute crapshoot and flip a coin, and the coin is probably going to be just as right as you are. So,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the games will tell us what's going to happen. So,
Sometimes it really is as simple as take the players you like, right?
mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
do I want to
absolutely.
do I want to be tortured watching Quinshaw Junkins or Harold Fannin on a weekly basis, or would I rather see Tucker Craft plow through some guys? Phrasing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
We still doing that?
we still sometimes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. That was a lot of fun, Bobby. Very informative. Like I think the reason we keep coming back to do this podcast is it is good like therapy for us too to like just talk through some certain scenarios and like really figure out our value of some players. So appreciate
Mhm.
you as always jumping on to do this, and that was a lot of fun. I think
Yeah.
I feel better about where I stand in my draft position going into my draft next week.
Yeah. Same as well. Same as well.
Excellent. Okay, everybody, we hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe as always. We did get a new subscriber recently. I don't know if you saw that, Bobby, but
Oh, excellent.
I
There
know.
we go.
So we're
Shout out
making,
to the new subscriber, whoever you are.
yeah, on the up and up. So please do like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. We're having a lot of fun and a couple more weeks of preseason to trudge through, folks, but the NFL season is right around the corner. Stick with us as we'll be getting into the regular season content as well. Um, until then, we will be back next week to review more injury news, I'm sure, plus get into some preseason analysis and see what else we can come up with between now and the regular season. But until then, we're going to say bye for now. Thank you for listening and peace.